versus Grogu. Group K. K-Boomer. Alright, so Grogu is Japan, and Lilbow is the España Spaniards. So, let's see how this one goes here. This is a pretty interesting matchup. Spain versus Japan. Trying to think. When's the last time I've seen Spain versus Japan before in a live Definitive Edition tournament? I can't recall, actually. I'm trying to think back to when I used to do production for ESOC, if I've seen any Japans versus Spains that I could reference here. Not that I know of. I mean, theoretically, it's going to be a really tough matchup to decide on because, from my knowledge, both Japan and Spain have always been some pretty heavy hitters in the ranked scene, at least when I used to play it. You know, Japan's were always a pain for me to deal with, and then the Spanish, the same thing. So, yeah, this will be a really tough one to call here, I say. But it really depends on what the strategy is again. Is the Spain going for more of a fast fortress? Or they committing to more of an aggressive build that we've seen a lot during this tournament? I can tell you personally, during my games in this tournament, the Spains have always been very aggressive. Very aggressive, starting out with some sort of musketeer push. So I wonder if we'll see that here, or we'll see more of a push for Age 3 in the skirmishers. Yeah. So first thing you always do with Spain, you can see right here, get yourself a trading post. As you know, Spain gets shipments very fast because of their civ bonuses, and the trading post makes it that much easier, so they can just cycle through their shipments kind of like the Ottomans do. It's pretty neat. Japan is actually going to start with 2 villager card here. And remember with Japan, a lot of cards, including your villager ones, your military ones, and crate ones, you can send twice. So you can theoretically send this again and get 2 more villagers, leading to a total of 4 villagers instead of just 2. But it's up to you. It depends sort of what your strategy is. For me personally, I prefer to go with Heavenly Kami. But that's at least the meta when you play Wars of Liberty. Definitely on DE, it could totally be different. Pretty much with any sort of game as Japan, the best thing you can do to get ahead, build a ton of shrines. Like, no, get a ton of shrines on the map. Wherever you see a grouping of hunts like this, and see at least 4 animals, put a shrine down. Put a shrine down. Put a shrine down. The more Japan gets, the easier things become for them as far as resource collection, not to mention housing space. And you essentially have very little problems maintaining economy once you get all those established, which is quite nice. Yeah. Torii Gate. So this is probably going to be an aggressive push by Japan. Rule of thumb, if you ever see Japan go for a Torii Gate, that means we're going for all in Age 2 gameplay. Reason is this treasure gives you really good XP bounty from train units as well as killing units. So you're going in there with the big push with Ashigarus, Yumis. You're going to get a ton of XP with that Torii Gate there, backing it up. So that's a good warning always that we're going to see aggressive gameplay from the Japan. As for Spain, let's see what their deck is. 1v1-2. So it's unknown what they're going to do. They could go for a fast fortress and take advantage of Spanish gold, or they could fight it out in H2 and fall back on all their shipments of rods, pikes, and their resource crates. We'll see. I think personally, does Spain know about his wonder? Yes, he does. He does see it. It shows it right here. So he does know what wonder he's going for. So the Spain knows at this point that he's going to be dealing with an aggressive Japan who's going to rush him right out of the gate with Ashigaru muskets out of the barracks. Because the other thing that the Torii Gate Age Up does, it does give you a military rickshaw to build a barracks or a stable with. So he is going to use it to build a barracks, and he's going to start queuing up Ashigarus right out of the get-go there, basically. Japan now goes for the 5 Shrine Wagons card. It's a very formidable card because it gives you 5 rickshaws that you can build shrines with. And essentially it saves you a ton of wood because that's wood that you don't need to spend on it with your explorers. And thus you can use some of that wood to perhaps set up a consulate, get some Yumis to back up your Ashies. Really depends. Even get some of your market techs like your Yozakura lanterns for the berry gathering. So yeah, look at all these shrines starting to pop up everywhere. This is really nice for Japan. Bringing in 600 wood as well. Yep. So Spain will go for the double barracks musketeer setup. This has been a pretty common setup here for Spain in this tournament. Going double barracks muskets. And basically you try to build a pretty good stack of muskets typically, and then back them up with the rod shipments, with pike shipment, and then eventually get into age 3 and start doing lancers, falconets, skirms, that sort of thing. So right out of the gate we're going to see more muskets coming out, followed by the rods. The rods generally do a good job at snaring your opponent and acting as a good meat shield and distraction, so you're not fighting the muskets pretty much, typically. Going for the big 320 XP treasure here. I wonder if Lilbow will be able to get it. If he can get that, that's going to be quite big, because that means he's likely going to be able to age up very quickly with the gold here. Again, the second rod shipment as well. Okay, so Japan is already pushing with their Ashigarus. He's going to take advantage of his extra movement speed to maneuver around these rods, though they will snare him a bit and make it a bit tough. Yeah, typically Ashigarus are great for combat because they actually have faster movement speed than the average musketeer does. As you see here, musketeers have a movement speed of 4. Ashigarus have a movement speed of 4.5, so they can outrun muskets and they can thus take advantage of micro and get some extra volleys in and make the battle a little bit more in their favor typically. Wow, Lilbow going for another XP treasure. That's pretty big. If he can get that one too, I think our friend Japan is in real trouble. That's a huge shipment advantage for Spain, an astronomical one. Looks like Japan goes for the Dutch allies to get a bank wagon. Quite good. Bank wagon obviously is going to give you a ton of gold through that bank. Also swapping in some Yumi archers as well to gain a multiplier advantage against these muskets and the hand infantry too. So we'll see if this Japan can potentially get archers fast enough to be able to ward off this double barracks Spain. Pikes are on the shrines now, so gonna try to take out as many shrines as possible. It's one of the weak spots you can use against Japan, is their shrines. The more shrines you can take out, the more the Japanese economy begins to shrink a bit. So very good aggressive play there by the Spain, going after the essential shrines. Yumi's forced to micro back from the pikemen as the musketeers just ram right on in and start shooting them like crazy. Yep, that's the whole good thing about hand infantry with Spain. You get a chance to snare the infantry in, make them slow, so the muskets can catch up and just blast them down one by one. It's quite effective. Japan forced to call out some emergency units, while their remaining Ashigarus are forced to retreat a bit. Japan will ship in some Ashigarus and queue up some more Yumi archers. Looks like this is his second shipment of the Ashigaru musket, so he won't get any more in this age. So he's got to make these muskets count. At the Dutch consulate, a church is coming in now, so that'll grant a bit of XP trickle to the Japan. And maybe give him a few extra needed shipments of shrines or resource crates depending on what he needs. Just trying to figure out what cards he had there. Alright, so from the looks of it, Japan's completely outnumbered now. Doesn't matter if he has the movement speed advantage or the archers there. The muskets are just going to overwhelm, and then whatever hand infantry is left is going to be a nice distraction to help snare them and make it easier for the muskets to pick them apart, which you're seeing right here. Yeah, no. Look, the muskets are right up against his neck right now. He's going to wipe out all that heavy infantry. Looks like Japan is going to be switching to the Japanese isolation too, because you can see him canceling out his current alliance there. Going for Japan is always a good choice, the isolation that is, because it gives your troops a bit more attack, and then you can use your export a bit more freely to train some extra troops. Calling in a Daimyo Mototada, right? Mototada, yep, Mototada, you remember that one. As well as some Yumi archers here. Doing a good job luring them away from the base for a bit, so you have a bit more breathing room for at least a few moments. That's great. How much export does he got? He's got enough export for 2 Yamabushis, maybe? Yeah. But no, it looks like, unfortunately, the score gap is too wide, and the Japan can't do much there. That's unfortunate. So we'll call that a win for España. Hola, Santiago.